But yeah, this is like top-down Metroidvania-y, and we absolutely demolished the intended sequence for this game. We do not do anything as intended, not even close. Yeah, the reason why I reset is because crafting is a big part of the run, and because of that, I need to be very specific with how I collect certain items so that I get the exact items that I need to do all of my crafting, and I messed up a way that we manipulate that, which is why I reset. Because those crystals, the item that they give when you destroy them is dependent on what items you currently have in your inventory. And as a result, if you break 2 of them before you collect the item for the first one, they'll give you the same item. But if I don't break the second one fast enough, it'll give me the wrong item, and that will just mess everything up. So that's why I reset. It is very, very possible to back it up. But if I'm going for a PB, there's no reason to back it up when it's 20 seconds into the run. Just reset. Or I guess it's more of like a minute into the run, but still. It's early enough in the run that I'm fine with just resetting for it. Oh yeah, no, this game, as far as pixel art goes, this game is very good looking. Any pixel art fans will enjoy this game for sure. Alright. Gotta do a little funky stuff to end up on top of that sign right there, and then not accidentally fall off of it, and then I can jump across this gap. And that lets me skip, like, most of the prologue. I'm supposed to go get a gun so I can hit that switch, and I just, don't. I do need to focus a little bit for this fight. Because this is one of those, like, fights where you can win it, but on your first playthrough, you're pretty much intended to lose. But because you get a weapon for winning this fight, we use that we win the fight, and then we use that weapon for pretty much the entire run. So I need to make sure I do win. Alright. Thankfully, once you know what you're doing, the fight's not too hard, but it is still tricky, and it is very easy to mess up those parries, because this is a game where the combat is focused around parrying. Or at least, the combat is focused around parrying when you're going fast. When I was playing casually, I did not parry nearly as much as I probably should have. Right, do some shopping. Because I mentioned how this game's kind of like a Metroidvania kind of thing, with a bunch of like items that you would use for progression. But the reason why this game's kind of weird is because we don't pick anything up in terms of, like, go into a dungeon, pick up something from the dungeon, use that for the rest of the run. Nah. Instead, we, you know, just kind of craft all of the progression items, and as a result, the first, like, 10 minutes of the run are all just collecting items so that we can craft all of the progression items that we need. We craft them, and then we just do a bum rush for the dungeons. So basically, by the time we go into and start doing the first dungeon, we already have all of the progression items that we need for the entire run. Alright, and then I need to do that. Then that goes there. This goes here. And this goes here. Alright, and now I have the hook shot, and then I can make a second one to make 2 hook shots. Alright, and then swap my weapons around. Put the hook shot, and there we go. Yeah, you can also see the Zelda inspiration, because we get a double hook shot, and then we also have the spinner. For any Twilight Princess fans out there. I think that's the one with the spinner. I don't know, I haven't played Twilight Princess. I haven't played that many Zelda games. But I do know enough about Zelda to know where the inspirations lie for this game. Alright. I need to be a little careful in this room because I don't want to trigger spawning in an enemy fight that I don't need to do. Alright. Yeah, the hookshot in this game is pretty interesting, because you're supposed to start out with one, and then the second one you're supposed to craft, because in casual play, you find the blueprint for it, and then you make the second one. But yeah, we just make both of them right away at the start, because we already know how to make one. And you don't need the blueprints to make stuff, it's just if you don't know how to make something, you obviously aren't going to be able to without the blueprint. Alright, then we fight this guy here because he drops a weapon. And this is the best weapon in the game outside of a story weapon that we get later on. And so, as a result, it's worth the slight detour to get it, because it does way more damage than anything else that I could be getting. Okay. Alright, make a slight detour to activate this terminal, so we can fast travel back here later. Literally just do a drive-by with the spinner where I activate the terminal and immediately leave. Alright. And along the way we're also collecting a few chips, because the chips are, you know, a la Hollow Knight charms, that kind of thing. And they're very important because they're on the way. We're going to have enough money to get upgrades so that we can equip more of them. And, you know, they just make the fights go a lot faster and a lot easier once we have those things equipped. So they're very important for going fast because, like I said, they are very much not out of the way. Or at least the ones that we want are not out of the way. Alright, so yeah, this is the last dungeon. We're just here because it was nearby and we want to activate this in the meantime, so that we can teleport back here later. Yeah, spin attack, and then teleport away. We're not going to do the dungeon right now because we haven't finished crafting yet. Alright. Alright, so let's get a few more metal scraps. Oh, I can only make 11 of that. Get 11 of them, not 12 like usual. Not a big deal. Alright, now it's time to craft. Alright, and then this. And then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then make some attack cogs. Alright. I was not expected to gold that split by 10 seconds. That's actually wild that I was able to gold by that much. Alright, and then equip the axe that I picked up earlier, and then I also crafted a shotgun. So let's get that going, and now let's actually go to the dungeons and the boss fights. Because we have to go around, defeat 5 bosses to collect the 5 MacGuffins that we need to craft as Super MacGuffin so we can enter the final dungeon. It's the 5 meteor shards, and we need it to craft the meteor blade, or in our case the meteor axe, because that one does more damage. But because we already have all of the progression items that we need and all the weapons that we need, we're just going to go dungeon to dungeon and clear them all as fast as we can. Alright, and if you do things properly, you can actually hit enemies during, like, the cutscenes and stuff, so yeah, that's what I do here. Alright, that's the first boss down. When you know what you're doing, and when the boss cooperates, they go very fast, but, yeah, it's not as easy as it looks. I can guarantee that. Oops, one more. There we go. Alright, and then these post-boss segments are the same every single time, but they are a pain in the ass to memorize, and so that is why I often lose time during them. But I do my damnedest to make sure that doesn't happen. Alright, and then equip that one, and then unequip the attack cog. The cogs are basically like consumable buffs, where they each type of them boosts something different about your stats, and they only last for a certain amount of time. The attack cogs only last for 20 hits each, and then I also have stamina cogs, which are active for 2 minutes at a time, where the attack cogs make it so that all of my attacks that are buffed by them do 33% more damage, while the stamina cog makes it so that I have 50% more stamina, which I really only need for the final boss, but it is very useful for the final boss, having extra stamina. Alright, this boss coming up here is my least favorite boss, because it is difficult and has some RNG to it. So I just kinda gotta do my best and hope it goes well. But first I get to input a code that I definitely learned by doing the dungeon as intended. Definitely didn't just go in the back way and then immediately bum rush here while already noting the code. Alright, and then turn on the attack cog. Alright. Also, this was the ice physics dungeon, so naturally the boss has ice physics on the ground. Alright. Then get my hits in while the boss is spawning in. Ouch. Alright, it's gonna spawn an add-in, which is unfortunate, but that's fine, I can work with it. Then it does this. Then counter. Alright, it's doing the thing where it jumps up and then comes down a bunch of times in a row. Ah, I thought it was going to attack me. Okay. Alright. That was definitely not the best boss fight in the world, but it was good enough. I won the fight, that's what matters. And then also my PB lost like 40, 50 seconds here, so I am going to save time over that at the very least. Yeah, my PB lost 50 seconds to the boss last time. Jeez. Oops. Down here, then up. There we go. This is why these post-boss segments kind of suck, because if you don't have the exact path memorized, you're just going around fishing for wherever the platforms are. Alright. I still lost a lot of time there, but I still saved a good chunk of time as well. So, you know, can't complain too much. I will take saving 20 seconds over not saving 20 seconds any day of the week. Alright, and then also unequip the attack cog. Okay. Alright, then be a little careful when going through this room, because there is a wave fight that I can trigger if I go near the chest, so I just need to, like, basically just take a wide berth around it, and I'm fine. Alright. Alright, so this is the dungeon where you're supposed to get the spinner, which is why it has a bunch of obstacles that are made for it. But yeah, we obviously already have the spinner, so we don't need to get it. Also, we can do some funky stuff with the hook shot. Oops, that's not the hook shot. There we go. Yeah, we can just, by doing like a specific setup, we can basically shoot it through walls and hit switches that we are very much not supposed to. Are you kidding me? How did I hit that enemy? That is very unfortunate. Okay, well, those enemies were mean to me. Oh well. But yeah, those are weird shots. That's what they're called. I didn't name them. That is what they elected to call them before I learned this game. But yeah, they are not like super useful throughout the run, but they are used a couple of times. I did one earlier in the run after I finished crafting. That's the second one. Then I'm going to use one more in a later dungeon as well. All of them let me absolutely demolish the intended way of going through these dungeons, though, because they are meant to be the way back. And so being able to take that to where you're very much not supposed to be lets you save a lot of time. And speaking of doing things the way you're not supposed to, you're supposed to get to this next switch by using a key, but because we have the hookshot, we can just do this instead. Because you're very much not supposed to have the hookshot at this point. This is like, you can do the dungeons out of order if you know what you're doing. Like, not even like talking about in a speedrun context, it's like if you know what to look for and like stuff like that, you can do the dungeons out of order, but this is the intended second dungeon. And so, as a result, you don't have almost any of this actual equipment that I have right now. And like I said, this is the spinner dungeon, so it's like the only piece of equipment you're really expected to have as far as movement goes is the spinner. The first dungeon, the piece of equipment you get there is the shuriken, which obviously we're not using at all, because that is a range projectile that you're supposed to like be able to steer around. And yeah, we don't need to do that, so we don't get the shuriken at all. Because the spinner is overpowered when it comes to movement. Ouch. That's unfortunate. I've already messed this fight up pretty badly. Need to parry it one more time and I'm fine, but yeah, this is definitely unfortunate. Alright, that was a little slow, but whatever. I'm definitely losing some time here, though. Only a few seconds, maybe, hopefully, I think. I don't know, we'll see. Might actually be losing more like 15-20 seconds. Only one way to find out, though. Yeah, I'm definitely losing more time than I would like. Oops, up here, then there, then there. There. Okay. I am slowly but surely learning these paths better each run that I do. Okay. Definitely lost a lot of time on that split, but that's really bad. I did not want to keep exploring. How do I back this up? I wanted to teleport back to Gear Village. Let's see if I can back this up. Okay. I can make this work, but it's going to be slow. Actually, I didn't want to actually teleport to Gear Village. The reason I wanted to teleport to Gear Village is so I could teleport somewhere else. Okay, well, I'm losing time on this split. Alright, well, that was an unfortunate mistake. Now that I've made that mistake once, hopefully I just never make it again. Alright, so this is the intended final dungeon, but we're obviously not doing things in order, so this is the 4th dungeon for us. Okay, that was an actual intended quit out, so that I can go back to this checkpoint. Because this way I don't have to go back through the dungeon the intended way, which would include wave fights that I don't want to do, so I'm just not going to do them. Yeah, this dungeon has 2 gimmicks, which one of them is switching between having the fire and lava on, and it being off, and then also this robot guy. The Haley. Both of them are very important, and we're not going to be doing either of them as intended, because there's 2 upgrades that you're supposed to get for the robot in this dungeon. We're just not getting the first one. We're only getting the second one. And on top of that, we're not going to be switching between fire on and fire off at all. We turn the fire on, and it will stay on for the rest of the dungeon, because we don't need to change it at all, because by doing what I'm about to do up ahead, the intended progression for this dungeon is just out the window. No. That's not going to work. There we go. A little slow, but that's okay. But yeah, that weird shot right there lets me go directly to the very end of the dungeon, and it lets me skip a lot of stuff. And as a direct result of that, I could just go get the last upgrade for the robot and go fight the boss immediately. Because the last upgrade for the robot is giving it cannons. And now that it has cannons, I could just go fight the boss. Unfortunately, even if I could just glitch past the doors that this robot opens with the cannons, I do need the robot cannons for the actual boss fight, because phase 1 of the boss fight requires the cannons. So yeah, you gotta go out of your way to grab them, but thankfully, it's not too hard to do that. Alright, then equip attack cog and switch to loadout B. Okay. Boss fight time. Dang it. If I got back in the robot before the cutscene happened, I would have been able to move around during that cutscene and just damage the boss while it's spawning in, but unfortunately I messed up the timing for it, so I didn't quite get a chance to. This is why we need the robot, is because this boss has a shield, and the only way to damage it is with the robot. Thankfully, this phase is really easy. It's just a matter of whether or not I lose time here on phase 1, and that was okay. I think it was a little bit better than last time, but it wasn't, phenomenal. Now it's for the time for the actual boss fight. Because phase 1 is not that big of a deal. Okay, then he's going to spawn some ads, and then I just parry him one more time, and we're done. Okay, there we go. Nice and easy. Okay, yeah, I'm definitely losing some time here. Unfortunate. Not surprising, but unfortunate. Oops, over here, and up here, up here. Okay, that could have been better. Dang, I actually almost saved time here. If I had done that last section, the post-boss segment better, I actually would have saved a little bit of time. Oh well. Unfortunately, I don't really have a lot of time left to save in the run, because all of the splits after this point were really good in my PB. Not necessarily, like, literally perfect or anything, but they were very good. So, they're going to be very difficult to compete against. Okay, thankfully this next boss is very easy. Definitely the easiest boss fight in the entire run, in my opinion. That doesn't mean it's literally free or anything. It is still very possible to mess it up, as I have done before. But as long as you know what you're doing and you're careful, it is not that hard. Alright, make sure I actually switch to the correct weapon loadout, because I have forgotten to do that before. Alright. There we go. Open up. Jump over here. Alright, and that's the boss fight. Like I said, very easy when you know what you're doing. And it's possible to make that fight even easier because it's possible to actually store your combo from the previous boss fight and then carry it over so that when you start that fight and like do the first hit, it gets that combo from where it was stored and you're able to start that fight with basically a max combo, but I'm bad at doing that, so I obviously was not able to. I have done it before, I have gotten it in runs, it's just not something that I can do very consistently. Over here. Forgot for a second where I was going. This one is the hardest one to know where to go, just because it's so roundabout of a path. Okay, there we go. Alright, I'm not saving time, but I'm not losing too much time either, at least. Which is cool. Only losing like 2 seconds. I'll take it. Alright. Now that we have all 5 MacGuffins, it's time to go make the Super MacGuffin. But first we need to make it to a teleport point so that we can actually teleport out of here. Also get some more chip slots while I'm here. And teleport back to Gear Village. Alright. The Meteor Axe. And then we get the Corrupted Axe, because that's definitely what I just wanted to make. Definitely. Okay. And then let's go ahead and equip it so that I don't forget later. Okay. And then that spot that I opened up earlier and then immediately left, now we're going to actually finally use it. But instead of going to the final dungeon, we're going to take a quick detour first. Because we're going to go fight an optional boss real quick. And the reason for this will be made very apparent later. Because you might think that fighting an entire optional boss is not fast for any percent, but it actually is. Assuming you do the boss fight correctly, of course. Which, you know, big assumption, but if you know what you're doing, it's not too bad. Alright, and then pick question mark. There we go. Alright, the boss is dead. It's that easy. Alright, and then now that we have the key card from the boss fight, we quit out back to the menu, go back to the last terminal, and now it's finally time for the actual boss fight. Or the final dungeon, not the boss fight. I'm always surprised when I manage to gold that split. I think I know why I was able to gold at that split is because I didn't craft a attack cog during it that time like I normally do. Because I was able to make an extra one at the beginning, but still. Still surprised by it. Alright, then, yeah, since I have only like 4 hits left on this attack cog, I'm just going to let it run out and then make another one before I go to fight the final boss. Alright, so I need to be a little careful here because there's a couple wave fights that I'm doing here. They're not like super difficult, but I definitely need to be careful because it's very possible to mess them up. And even if I don't mess them up, it's very easy to lose time on them as well. And this is the reason why I went out of my way to fight the hidden boss. Because on the second floor here, we take a little detour over here, use the keycard to go in here, enter a little secret lab, and we were on floor B2 before, now we're on floor B4. We just skipped half of the final dungeon. And that's why we fight the optional boss, is because we get to skip most of the final dungeon. And on top of that, there's even more reason, because there's an entire escape sequence at the end of the game that we just don't have to do if we have that keycard. Alright. A little scuffed for that last wave fight, but that's fine. It doesn't matter how scuffed it is as long as I'm not dead. That's all I care about. Oops. Ran out of stamina. Alright, go down here. Craft an attack cog real quick. So that I have 2 of them. Never mind, I will not craft an attack cog. Never mind, I got a metal scrap. I will still be able to make an attack cog. Alright, that was like 10 seconds of time lost, but whatever, who cares. Alright, then equip my 2 stamina cogs and my 2 attack cogs, and let's go fight the final boss. The first 2 phases of the final boss are basically just a reprise of all the bosses we had fought up till this point, and so I just gotta make sure I do this correctly. Alright, and that's phase 1 down. Combo's going to decay a little bit, that's okay. Alright, phase 2 is the same thing, but now there's 2 of them. This is getting out of hand. Okay, took a little damage, and so I don't have a full combo, but that's okay. That's going to make phase 3 take maybe a tiny bit longer, but not the end of the world. Alright, time for the final phase of the final boss. It's something completely different. Ouch, dang it. Alright, I messed it up a little bit already. Unfortunate. Alright, then it's gonna start doing some extra attacks. First, it's gonna spawn arms and try to hit me with those. Alright, and then it's gonna have that little dude in the middle pop out and try to attack me, and I need to parry him. Alright, that's 1. Plus 2. Alright, because I took some damage earlier, the boss fight is not quite over yet. Whoops. Alright, there we go. Little slow at the end there, but that's okay. But that's the final boss. Alright, I am losing probably like 10-15 seconds on this split. But that's okay. Because I was ahead by 26 seconds going into this fight. Or going into this last split, so let's see. But yeah, there's an escape sequence that I just don't have to do, which saves like an entire minute over having to do it, so another reason why the optional boss fight is really nice. Alright, and time. Ah, I almost got sub 20 in-game. Dang. But hey, I got sub 36 in RTA, so that's still pretty cool. And I was actually green for the whole run that time. Even though several of those splits could have gone a lot better. Ah, my sub best is almost sub 34 as well. Dang. Thank you for the GG. Appreciate it. And it was the power of the Preventathon raid allowed me to PB a second time. And actually get the sub 36 this time. Because I just missed the sub 36 last run. But yeah, I managed to gold 3 different splits, which is pretty cool. Then Maria, I still lost 30 seconds on the Maria fight because it wasn't very good. But I saved 20 seconds over last time, so I mean, could have been a lot worse. So I'll take it. The Luna fight was not great, but the time loss was more so in getting to the fight, because trying to get the orb in that pedestal just was not cooperating, and I lost like 10 seconds from that alone. The Nova split I should have saved a lot of time on, but I messed up when because I was supposed to warp back to Gear Village after the Luna fight, and I just didn't. And then I panicked trying to back it up because I'd never made that mistake before, which made me lose even more time because I was panicking and didn't know how to back it up. If I had known what I was doing with backing it up, I could have saved 5 or 10 seconds while still losing time there, but it's okay. It didn't kill the run. And then, yeah, the final split was not the best because I took some damage during the final boss, which meant that I had a pretty slow Phase 3. But I'll take it. Thank you for the GG as well, Joopy. Yeah, that was my second PB of the night. Because I was able to PB one time before the Preventathon raid and then one time after. So yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. I'm feeling a lot more confident about the Speedrun run this next weekend because I'm able to actually get some good times. All right, let's put my time on the leaderboard. 20 minutes and 8.888 seconds. All right then. Also, this is the funny thing about in-game time versus real time. That was somehow 22 seconds faster than last run in-game, but in real time it was 16 seconds faster. This is why we don't use in-game time. Because it's not that it's inconsistent in how it times things, but it's inconsistent as far as being useful for actual leaderboard positions, because it stops when you have the game paused, and we do so much menuing in the run that is just not useful in the slightest. Because like anytime we're doing crafting, anytime we're switching weapons around, turning on and off cogs, yeah, none of that time is counted. So yeah, needless to say, in-game time, not super reliable in that sense. But I've almost got a sub 20 in-game time, which is cool. And the game has an achievement for getting sub 1 hour. So I think I've gotten that achievement a few times over by now. But yeah, that's a pretty solid run. I'm pretty happy with that.